Hello and welcome back to the Littlest PetCast. I am your host James, and today we are looking at the episode Senior Day. So, we start at the Littlest Pet Shop. Vinny and Sunil are staring each other down. Blythe comes in and asks if anyone wants to come down to Sunset Siesta Retirement Home for pet therapy. Blythe says that she's met so many great people since she started volunteering there. Zoe wants to go because she's good at cheering people up. Blythe asks Vinny and Sunil, but they're in the middle of an epic staring contest. Blythe asks, what does the winner get? And Vinny says, we don't know. Sunil's like, perhaps we should have thought of something before we did this. And Vinny says, does that mean you want to give up? And Sunil says, never. That is the male ego in a nutshell, doing something stupid so intently. It's amazing. And, it's that they could be doing worse things with that bravado. So Minka says she wants to see the staring contest thing through to the end. So Pepper says she doesn't want to go because she's had her fair share of old people. And her owner's parents specifically stayed with them for 3 weeks. Pepper recounts a story about how her owner's mom confused Pepper for a towel and wiped her face. And Blythe says gross. And Pepper says gross doesn't even begin to explain it. Penny says she'll go because she's basically a pillow with arms and legs. Russell hesitantly agrees. And that hesitation comes from the fact that his dad, Jerry, is there. This surprises Penny. And I guess everyone. Russell says his dad is a lot, but Penny doesn't think he's that bad. But Russell is still weary. So then we have the theme song, and then we're at Sunset Siesta. And the logo on the outside for, what this place is just a son wearing a straw farmer's hat, sunglasses, and holding maracas. Blythe introduces everyone at home to Russell, Penny, and Zoe. She says feel free to pet them, play with them, or even talk to them. Just don't expect them to talk back. Which, it is Blythe. Blythe, it's, if someone were to press you on that, you had no reason to say that. At all. You're just a little nervous about that. And they don't seem to mind. So one of the residents thinks that Zoe's his hairpiece, and Blythe has to wrestle her away. And Blythe tells Zoe to run, which she does. So a group of residents is petting Penny Ling, and she's really enjoying it. Blythe asks if Russell's going to be okay because she needs to start making her rounds. Russell says that Penny's got things covered here, so he'll look for his dad, but his dad has already shown up and is demanding people to get out of his way. And because he's little, he comments on seeing everyone's legs as being like going through a forest full of thick, veiny trees, which is a little gross, I will say. Just a little. So, first thought. I don't know why I didn't ask this earlier, but this is where it came up in my notes. If Russell is supposed to be a teenager, why is his dad in a retirement home? I guess because his owner is, which that gets explained later, but he seems to fit in, more or less. He is treated as, old. I don't know, maybe it was a late kid in Russell. Could be. That makes a little sense. But, Jerry is also wearing Russell's Hawaiian shirt from Russell Up Some Fun when he was Fun Russell. And I don't know. It's okay, that is a bit of a weird detail about him, a little bit. I guess it's because he's old and old people wear Hawaiian shirts. But that's a fun shirt, and well, we'll just get into it. So he also has gray hair, and the top of his hair is a buzz cut. Russell greets Jerry, and after Jerry says hi to Rusty, which is his nickname, he complains about not getting a visit. Russell says he's been busy, and Jerry asks with what? Offending people with that haircut? He then licks his paw and like combs Russell's quills on his head down, but they spring up. Jerry then asks about Blythe and wonder if she's Russell's new owner. He asks what happened to the older one and surmises that Russell drove her insane as well. So now we have something that honestly kind of blew my mind when it was said out loud. Like, it's one of those things where you just kind of accept it. Like, you don't give it any thought until, like, you hear it. It's basically like... It's basically like you're running on air in a Looney Tunes cartoon, but you don't fall until you notice that you're not on solid ground. And that is that Russell says that Mrs. Owens is still his owner. So, backing up, Russell's last name is Ferguson. And I kind of always thought that pets in this universe share a name with their owner. Share their last name because they're technically part of the family, and it's not uncommon for people to refer to their pets as their children. But now that doesn't seem to be the case, and it never seemed to be. It's just like one of those things I took for granted. Because, like, Speedy's last name is Shellberg, and not Smith, Roosevelt, or Jones, or any of the other 23, 22 people that he was owned by. Okay, talking about the ownership of something, of like a sentient being, is a little weird, but we kind of have to do it. It's just got to do it. Okay, so Blythe's mom also gave Speedy his name. She named him Speedy Shellberg. So maybe that's it? Maybe that's a thing people do? Or don't? It's like weird. Because like Penny's last name is shared with her cousins that we saw in that one episode, Shanghai Hijinks. And not with her owner that she has. But then how do animals sort this out? How do they know what their last name is? How do they even keep track when they're adopted out to multiple different families? Like, at least across the city, if not farther. Like, there is so much animal minutia in this universe that once the scientists actually figure out how to communicate with animals, they are going to have a field day with all of this. And like Russell's last name of Ferguson is like an old English thing meaning son of Fergus. So there's like a Scottish thing to it as well. But like, it just means son of Fergus. So is there a famous hedgehog named Fergus that Russell is descended from, like, remotely? Because, like, I don't know, there are a lot of like son last names. There's Wilson. There's like Jameson, Henderson. There's a lot. This is a lot to just kind of think about. And this is just with the names. Like, pet culture is weird. It's, I don't know, like they're cognizant enough to make a map in that one episode, but no one seems to notice this stuff. I'm just complaining about, like, the hard limits of this show, because there aren't any. They're just like, do whatever, I guess. I don't know. Like, it's not bad exactly. It's just weird and confusing. So back to the episode. Russell introduces Blythe as his friend. And, oh boy. Jerry says, "You can't make friends with other hedgehogs? Why do you always gotta be different?" Which, I'm not sure if this is intentional. I hope it's not. But because Jerry's old and seems a bit old-fashioned as well, smacks a little dog whistle-y. Or like he would listen to that kind of dog whistle stuff. It's not a great look for Jerry. Although a lot of this episode is not a great look for Jerry. And we'll get into that. This is going to be a long episode. This is just going to be a long episode. I can tell you that much. So Blythe introduces herself to Jerry, and Jerry responds politely, but then pulls away and says that Blythe is nuts for trying to talk to us. Russell explains that Blythe can talk to animals, and she's just trying to be polite. Blythe says that, like, she sees what Russell means about being a lot of a lot, which, just because Jerry didn't know she could talk to animals doesn't mean he's a lot of a lot. Like, you don't call other animals a lot of a lot just because they don't know you have that power. And a lot don't. Also, like, a few things up to this point, like, I can understand being a bit uncomfortable, but there's always a certain level of discomfort around parents, just because they're your parents. But he really is a lot of a lot, as seen throughout this episode. But at this point, it's a little up in the air. So Jerry wonders what a lot of a lot means and complains about modern words and asks, why can't you use English properly? Okay, so I don't know where it is in my notes, but I'll just get to it now. So, I don't know, the reason I find it odd that Jerry wears the Hawaiian shirt is because, like, that, to me, that represents fun, and Jerry doesn't seem to be fun exactly. He like, is strict about, like, hairstyles, the evolution of language, Russell not being friends with someone alike to him, in a superficial manner at least. That does not, no matter how you slice that, that's, like, if you describe it that, like, Russell made friends with a human and Jerry is upset about it, that's the only way you can describe that without sounding like you're talking about someone's actual prejudice instead of, like, fake prejudice. There's just... oh boy. Oh dear. Oh dear. Let's keep going. Like, oh boy. Oh, it was right there. Like, Russell is also a bit strict when it comes to certain things, and I can kind of see a bit of Jerry in him, but at the same time, like, Russell's strictness might have been a product of Jerry's and not necessarily, like, his own doing. But I mean, I guess the same could be said for every generation. But, like, Russell has, like, I don't know, it's a whole thing. So Blythe decides to leave because she has work to do, and I hope you all don't leave, even though this has been something. I just hope you don't leave because of how awkward this is at this point. So Jerry asks Russell for help. His owner is moving to a new retirement home, and he's not allowed to take Jerry with him. We then flash back to where Jerry overheard his owner, who looks younger than Jerry, actually. He must be in the retirement home for not just general aging reasons, which can happen. He says he can't bring Jerry, but that they have the best creamed corn. Maybe he is just old and the animators didn't do a good job at that. Meanwhile, Jerry is tearing up a little bit. Jerry says he doesn't know what to do. Russell asks, "Couldn't someone else here adopt you?" And then asks, "Please don't call me Rusty. Nobody calls me Rusty anymore." Jerry wonders if there's a shelter he could go to for homeless hedgehogs. Or maybe he could just be a hobo. Russell tentatively asks Jerry to live with him, and Jerry just keeps saying how much of a bother he'll be, which is a form of emotional manipulation, because Russell goes from fine to "you are doing this," and then once Russell is at in no uncertain terms, "you are doing this," Jerry says "Okay, you said it and you're not allowed to take it back," and then asks Russell to pack for him. So an old woman is on her treadmill when she gets a knock from Blythe. Blythe says hi to this wonderful resident named Lorraine and asks her how her favorite resident is doing. Lorraine tells her, "I'm doing just fine, B. I've decided that that's my nickname for you. Just because I'm getting older doesn't mean I can't hang with the cool kids." Blythe loves her nickname, and I love Lorraine. She is dynamite. I love her. So Blythe replaces Lorraine's old flowers with some new ones, and Lorraine enjoys it. She says that that's the type of thing her granddaughters are always doing for her. She says Blythe reminds her of them and picks up a picture. Blythe says, "So I've been told." Blythe takes a look at the picture and says, "Too bad this picture is so out of focus." And Lorraine asks, "Is it?" Which it very much is. It's hilarious how out of focus it is. It is like blurry, like from here to there. It's just so you cannot tell anything from this. You can't see anyone's faces, Why does she have that photo? I guess it's because, like, did the photo fade? Couldn't have faded that hard. Unless proper care wasn't taken to it. It's a weird black and white or sepia photo. It's... I don't know how... How did she get that picture? Okay, I might be thinking about this too much. Because it's just for the purposes of the joke of like you can't tell like who's in the photo at all. That is the purpose of that. But then it just kind of doesn't make sense. It's just, I don't know, it's a weird thing. So the important thing is that there is a distinctive feature that one can make out from the photo despite it being blurry. And I don't know if it's supposed to be like a full-on like twist or just dramatic irony. I am going on the path of dramatic irony through the episode, even though it doesn't necessarily come up until the twist. But that makes the jokes of, the granddaughters and Blythe a little more funny, a little more understandable as they are happening instead of the twist. So, I'm going with dramatic irony, and I'm going to tell you the distinctive feature. So if you don't want to hear it, skip ahead a few seconds, I guess. So the distinctive feature that you can make out is that she has two granddaughters, one of whom has black hair, and the other has white hair. Lorraine says it's a shame that they miss seeing Blythe when they visit, and she thinks that they can get along, and Blythe agrees. So Blythe sees Jerry and Russell walking, and Russell's carrying a bunch of boxes. Blythe excuses herself to check the situation. She goes to talk to Russell, who explains that Jerry's moving in with him because his owner can't take Jerry to his new place. Blythe thinks it's sweet, but Russell says it's cuckoo, but he's his father, so what are you gonna do? Not this, maybe? Especially after he emotionally manipulated you? But I guess you don't want to see him end up on the street. So Jerry then demands Russell to hurry it up because he wants to get there by dinner, which for him is at 4, because any later and he'll be up all night starring in the one-man comedy show called The Battle of My Bladder. Blythe asks, he knows I'm your ride home, right? Russell says, not a clue, and Jerry demands again, and Russell picks up the boxes and rushes over. Zoe's on the head of that resident again and asks for help. So at Russell's place, which I guess is Russell's, it's weird. Like I would say like my place, even though like I'm splitting it with someone, or like my house, even though I was living with my parents at the time, and it's technically their house, but I'd say my house just to make things easier. So the last name thing is throwing me through a loop, because like what qualifies as like, just a thing pets do as pets and a thing pets do as beings. It's a whole thing. So Russell finished unpacking and presents everything. Jerry comes out of the bathroom that hedgehogs can use? Okay, so I'm not one for detailed bathroom usage and things, because like everyone does it. It's just usually a waste of time to show every instance of it. But in this case, how does a not even foot tall hedgehog use the bathroom? It's all of this that just really caused this podcast to exist. Because if they didn't pose the question like this, then I wouldn't be asking. If they didn't pose several questions, I wouldn't need to ask. But whatever. He is upset that his bed is next to the heater and complains about the lack of washing of his blanket, which is his blanket, I think, that he had. You should wash your own blankets. Your son's not going to wash. Don't at least tell him to wash the blanket first before you say, this blanket is unsuitable, because it should be your blanket, right? It might be a guest blanket and bed. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. So he takes Russell's bed. And yeah, okay, the placement at least is a little on Russell, because it is right next to the heater, and Russell was the one in charge of placing everything. But the blanket should be yours, Jerry. So Jerry wonders how warm Russell's owner's lap is because he wants some cuddle time. And Russell is regretting this instantly, and Jerry wonders if he has a migraine. So now we see a day in the life of Russell and Jerry. So Russell wakes up and Jerry is eating Russell's food, and Jerry says that his food is mushy and offers it to Russell, who is disgusted by it, which it just is disgusting. Why do Russell's owners have that food? Is it Jerry's food? Did Jerry bring his own food and is just not eating it? That's worse, Jerry. That's another strike against Jerry on that. But if Russell's owners just had that food and is I don't know, just give it to Jerry, then that's on them. But they know Jerry is here, I think. I'm pretty sure they have to know. So then Jerry is asleep in front of the TV, and Russell sneaks up with some popcorn and changes it to the Duchess of Lancashire Lane from Golf. But Jerry wakes up and Russell relents the popcorn and the TV, but Jerry falls asleep again. Russell is reading a book when Jerry approaches, and Russell just gives Jerry the book and the seat, only for Jerry to fall asleep again after being disinterested in the book. I mean, and so that one, I'm not sure. You could take the book with you, Russell. He just wanted the seat. So Russell then tries to hide in the closet, but Jerry is there and he gets stressed out again. So at sunset siesta, Blythe is preparing Lorraine for her granddaughter's visit. Blythe says she wants Lorraine to look her prettiest for her granddaughters. Lorraine says that her granddaughters would do the same if Blythe were visiting. And she also says that when they meet, she's sure that they'll be BFFL, best friends for life. Did I get it right? Blythe says close enough, which it is, but at the same time, I guess I am dating myself on this. Because, it wasn't, too long before this episode aired. It might have been a little long. Maybe it was, I guess it was 8 years. 8 or 7, yikes, that there was those cell phone commercials where the old lady was like, IDK my BFF Rose. So, like, I mean, I guess that's a joke, but, like, those commercials were pretty ubiquitous. At least where I grew up. I guess maybe across America, it's hard to know. Like, it's weird. Like, I can't believe, like, okay, so, like, this episode aired in, like, 2015, and I remember those commercials from, like, 2007, maybe 2008. And, yeah, I wasn't too, I guess it must have been long enough ago. Man, this is, oh boy, I am confronting some hard truths here. But back to the episode. Blythe tells Lorraine to take a walk while she readies her room. Lorraine asks if she and her granddaughters weren't separated in birth and leaves, and Blythe is very excited to meet them, which, yeah. So Jerry is at LPS and wondering where bingo is, or when it is. When is bingo? Russell says that there's no bingo, which, there's no organized time for bingo, but bingo can still be had. You just need to set it up. It's not like 4 o'clock bingo or 2 or 6 o'clock bingo in their case, but they want bingo before or after dinner. I guess it's a case-by-case basis. The point is, there's no organized time for bingo, but bingo can still be played. Jerry says, what am I supposed to do? Talk to everyone? Which, Russell says, you should get to know my friends. And then under his breath says, and leave me alone for 5 minutes. Jerry asks him to speak up because his left ear isn't up to snuff. So Russell introduces Jerry to Zoe. So Jerry says, I can't believe this. He says, I remember this cutie from the car ride home. Hello. Russell didn't tell me he was friends with a supermodel. Zoe giggles. But Russell just walks him away because he doesn't want to see this, and neither do I? Because, okay, based on the fact that Russell quilled, and quilling, like, goes with, like, adolescence in hedgehogs, at least the second form of quilling, and we know it can't be the first form of quilling, because Russell isn't 2. He's not supposed to be a baby or a toddler. He's supposed to be someone the audience can somewhat relate to, I guess. Like, he has a good understanding of the world around him. So, because he's quilling, that would make him a teenager, and that would make everyone teenagers. And that means Jerry, who's old enough to be in a retirement home, just hit on a teenager. They're not cool, Jerry. Not cool. That's a little weird. Although, like, it's also, like, just weird because, like, it is possible that the animals are adults. But that would go against Hedgehog in the Plastic Bubble, and B, kind of make Russell a bit of a creep for maybe making a pass at Blythe. I mean, I can see where it would get it from. Oh boy. I am just talking about a lot of things that, aren't great about Jerry. Jerry's a bit problematic. He's not... Well, look at me saying problematic instead of okay boomer, which is the language of the day, I guess. But language always changes and evolves, and I guess problematic can still be used. It's this whole fun, weird thing. Oh, Jerry. Why you gotta be like this? But, like, my greater point could be that they also decided to abandon, like, both the fact that they're teenagers, that the main cast is teenagers, and that Russell had a thing for Blythe at all. Because I don't remember it, like, coming up in, like, the subtle ways it comes up in, previously in this season whatsoever. So maybe it's just a slight little retcon that just flew under my nose. But it's not even semi-confirmed that they just ignore that. Boy. Jerry. Like, I don't know, that's just the thing, though. Like, there's no LPS Bible as far as I can tell. There's no, like, okay, so there's no, the pets are this age. Blythe's powers do this. These things happen. Like, it's a list of things that, like, pertain to the show that no writer can contradict. And, like, if you can just, like, find something that, like, is that, you can be goofy and still, like, make sense. This is just, like, goofy without restraint. And it leads to instances like this, where one or both or neither of these characters are a bit of a creepo. That is my biggest point. Oh boy. Let's continue now. So they approach Vinny, and we never actually get to see a resolution from that staring contest. We just know it ended, which usually the show would have, like, hey, like, I won, like, just offhandedly, you know? Jerry asks Vinny if he's a Komodo dragon, and Vinny says he's a gecko, and Jerry is glad that he isn't going to eat him, but just in case, go after Rusty first. He's young and he's got a lot of meat on him. He then pokes Russell's belly and says, when was the last time you even looked at a dumbbell? Vinny laughs and wonders why Russell didn't say his dad was so funny. Russell just rolls his eyes. Jerry wonders what's up with Vinny, and Vinny just laughs again. Pepper comes out and asks for comedy tips. Jerry doesn't know how to train in comedy. He just knows what makes him laugh. Like how Rusty's nose whistles when he snores. The pets surround Jerry and laugh as Russell gets furious and whistles through his nose, which, all right, playing with fire. It's a good bit. It's a good little bit that's like shows that Russell is mad, but you can also still laugh at this point. Jerry says, like, I'm trying to sleep, and all of a sudden, Rusty is wrapping a basketball game with his nose. And everyone is laughing, and Russell snaps and tells his dad all of his shortcomings, which include not leaving him alone, like stealing his food, like just like being an overall nuisance, and says that his name is Russell and not Rusty. And Russell just gives up on wanting to live with Jerry, and he says it in many different ways, with the last being uncle. And Vinny says, I thought Jerry was your dad. Okay, we are really, really, like, on this, like, edge that I'm not quite used to for this type of show. But, I don't know, we've been over that already, and we don't need to get into that again, especially because of everything else we talked about. Jerry is sad and says that he'll move out. He makes a speech about how he's going to live on the street, and Russell tries to reconcile it, but he realizes that he was a bit too harsh. Meanwhile, Blythe finishes organizing Lorraine's room and says that it's perfect. She hears Lorraine coming and checks on her in the hall, and she sees that her granddaughters are the Biskit twins. Bum bum bum. So Blythe realizes that the sweet girls that Lorraine was talking about are the nasty Biskit twins. So Blythe tries to hide in the room, but can't find a good hiding spot, which is amusing. And Blythe says there's no escape, which, welcome to a retirement home, I guess, Blythe? You're not really supposed to let the people who live here escape? It's a weird thing. I don't know, like, the retirement home my grandma's at, like, you have to sign people out. But you don't really want, like, someone who can't take care of themselves out and about, like, on their own just because they can open the door. So it's a whole thing. But Lorraine seems, like, relatively fit. Like, maybe there's, like, a condition that we don't know about, or we learn about. Maybe it's I don't know. Lorraine doesn't seem like Lorraine could live at her own house, like a little house, like a 1-story, just like everything she needs kind of thing. Maybe it's to be active in the community a little. It's a whole thing. There are many complications, and I don't have time to get into any of that. I mean, I do. It is my podcast, but I'm not that well versed in it. And whatever. So Blythe spies the closet and hides in it. She peers through, like, the panels, because it's like a closet with, like, panels, like thin little, like, wooden panels that, like, are about, like, a few inches apart. Enough that you can see through, but you can't necessarily see back. Well, I mean, you could if they looked, but, like, whatever. Lorraine arrives, and she is disappointed that B isn't here, but she figures she'll be back soon. The Biskits are ecstatic about meeting the person taking care of Gran, and even got her a little present. Blythe can hardly believe that this is happening. So, at the pet shop, Russell is talking about his feelings on Jerry to his friends. He says he was a bit harsh, but it's also a bit hard to live with him. Sunil points out that Russell maybe should give Jerry some time because he's been uprooted and he needs some adjustment time. Russell is worried about not being able to teach an old hedgehog new tricks, and so he says that might be true, but you might learn some stuff from him, which he might be able to learn some stuff from him, but you should try to change the behaviors in people, especially if, like, they drive you to the point where you do yell at them. Or like, Russell doesn't want to yell at his dad. Like, he just doesn't. But, like, Jerry's behavior has been less than ideal throughout the episode. And Russell just snapped at him. Like, you shouldn't be around people that, like, make you snap like that. And, like, if you can make the effort to change them, like, maybe, but at a certain point, you just gotta let it go. And just, not be around them so much. Or at all. You have to set boundaries. There's no shame in dropping out if, like, both people can't respect the other's boundaries. It's just, I get the point they're trying to make. I get it. Like, some people can be difficult sometimes, and you have to work through it. But it doesn't always work like that. You need to work through it, and if you can't work through it, then just, like, there's no shame in giving up. Like, there are people who, like, get paid to work through it. Like, therapists or, other sorts of people in that field. It's just, I get it. I get it. It's just maybe not exactly, I don't know. Maybe. Okay, so this episode hits a little too close to home for me in this aspect, because my dad is not the best right now. And it can be hard to talk to him and live with him. But, like, it's possible. I don't think it's impossible. I just think you need to set your limits. And sometimes the limits are too much for one or both of the people. It's just like, so my point here is that, yes, this is a kids show. You want to teach something that is accessible and, like, more general. Like, I don't know, your parents might be a bit odd, but they're still your parents, so I don't know, no matter how much they, like, tick you off, you should probably love them anyway. But in specific cases, that's just not true. Like, it's not in my case. I'm not cutting my dad out from my life entirely, but it is hard to, like, be with him for extended periods of time. And, like, I don't know, stuff like that, where, like, so, like, they want the moral to be, like, all light and fluffy, which isn't the answer for everyone. But, like, an Always Sunny type of moral where nothing is light and fluffy is also not exactly what I was thinking would work. Because it still has an air of light and fluffiness. It's just, oh, look, it's just cantankerous and just kind of bad. Like, I want something where, like, they recognize, like, the situation might not be ideal, but it's the best situation. Man, I have a lot about this. But Russell agrees and wants to apologize to Jerry, which, I mean, Jerry should apologize too. That's just what I'm saying for this. So, back in Lorraine's room, Blythe is agonizing about being trapped in the closet for hours. And Whitney and Brittany then think to go to the Commons and grab a board game to play with Gran and their new BFF. Get it? BFF? Like her name? So they leave and Lorraine says that they are the nicest girls. So Lorraine immediately falls asleep, and that's the condition I was mentioning earlier. Maybe it's narcolepsy. Maybe it's just being old. So Blythe takes this opportunity to escape. However, the Biskits come back because they forgot to ask what board game they want. They run into Blythe and demand to know why she's here. Lorraine wakes up and calls her B, which surprises the twins, and Blythe says, "Surprise!" So Jerry is standing around in Russell's place, and Russell says, "Waiting for me to pack your things? Well, I'm here to tell you I won't." Russell admits it must be hard for him to move out, which, I mean, it is. Moving is never easy, both physically and emotionally. But Jerry puts all the physical burden on Russell. But whatever. Russell tells him that he's free to do all of that stuff that bugs him, which, no, don't do that. No. Snapping at Jerry isn't a good idea, but this isn't better. There has to be a middle ground. You have to remain calm for as long as you can. And again, there is no shame in quitting. There is no shame in quitting, people. There's no shame in that. Okay. So Jerry apologizes, though, which, good, for the pain in the back or the pain in the spine, rather, as he says, and embarrassing Russell in front of his friends. Russell assures him that they embarrass each other in front of each other all the time. Which, again, is true. Okay. So, the Biskits are in disbelief about Blythe being B. Blythe introduces herself as B. I mean, Blythe. She guesses which twin is which, and says she's heard so much about you, and that she's heard so many good things, she thought it had to be too good to be true. And now that you're here, I'm still having a hard time believing it. Lorraine is giving a smile, which guilts the Biskits into playing along. Lorraine shows Blythe the gift that the twins got her. She opens it, and it's a sweater with a little kitty on it, and it's adorable. Blythe says that she can't wait to try it on, and Lorraine says to try it on now. The twins object, but Blythe puts it on and says it's a perfect fit. Blythe says she might never take it off. Oh boy. Okay, this is certainly the pick-me-up I needed. So, Lorraine is excited and thinks that they'll now be BFFLs, which, Lorraine, they said BFFs. They said the actual term in front of you. I get maybe not remembering a commercial from 7 or 8 years ago, even though it was iconic. But you just heard it. Blythe plays along, and the Biskits also play along. The Biskits then say, we don't want to keep you from doing whatever it is you do, so we'll walk you out. So they pick her up Oron style and take her out. And Lorraine says, as they are leaving, Those girls as friends does a grand's heart good. Lorraine, I love you. You are excellent. So, once the Biskits and Blythe get out in the hall, everyone is freaking out about what just happened. Blythe can't believe that the Biskits are the sweet little girls Lorraine talks about, and they can't believe that Blythe is her favorite volunteer. Blythe says, well, I'm a good volunteer, which is a good comeback. So they all can't believe that Lorraine thought they would be BFFs, and in unison they say, as if, and giggle. So they then lay down some ground rules, Russell. So the twins say that Blythe can keep visiting Gran if Blythe's and the Biskit schedules don't line up. Blythe agrees to this. They say that Blythe can't ruin their reputation at school by telling everyone how nice they can be. Blythe says that no one would believe her anyway. They also allow her to keep the sweater because they wouldn't wear it anyway. Blythe says she'll think of them whenever she wears it. The Biskits gag and say please don't, and they go their separate ways. So let's go on a different tangent. A more upbeat tangent. One that I am more equipped to talk about and to have a pleasant conversation about. So, this is the hard start of the Biskit redemption arc. Like, there may have been like a few things here and there that like could previously indicate the Biskits could be redeemed, such as Door Jammed, or Feud for Thought, or just generally the way the Biskits like antagonize Blythe to a certain degree that could be interpreted as that like juvenile idea of like, oh, like I pushed you into the dirt, that means I like you kind of thing. Like the fact that the Biskits just kind of want to be around Blythe relentlessly, but also keep at a distance, kind of plays into that. But this is the hard start to an actual redemption. Because, like, in this conversation, they have pleasant candor, they make jokes, and, like, they do that thing of, like, dramatic irony where they're, like, disagreeing on something in unison. It's like that whole, like, saying as if in unison, like, oh, we can never be friends, whatever. Usually is followed up later with them being friends. You can just see it happening. That just doesn't happen when people have nothing but disdain for each other. And, like, it's really, like, I mean, Blythe might not, like, enjoy the Biskits' company, but I don't think, like, it's harder to make a case for, like, Blythe liking the Biskits than the Biskits liking Blythe. But Blythe is generally a nice person. Like, she stuck up for the Biskits, and even though that backfired on her, it's still a thing that happened. And, you know, like, Blythe, it, like, could come around on that. It's not impossible. We have seen it happen. It's just, like, yeah, we have seen it happen. It's just a process. It is a process, and it's also another shot lined up for this season. So far we have, like, Blythe's mom also can talk to animals, so we'll see what that is. Littlest Pet Street, and now this. So this finale has to do a lot of things. So I'm just going to leave it at that. So Larry, Jerry's owner, stops by LPS and Blythe asks what he's doing here. Larry says he's here to pick up Jerry to take him to his new place. Blythe thought he couldn't bring Jerry. Larry says that he misheard them. They said that he couldn't bring jeggings, opening his robe and revealing a pair. He is disappointed because he bought 12 new pairs of jeggings, and Blythe is just confounded, as am I. Why doesn't this place allow jeggings? Why does Larry have 12 pairs of jeggings? It's a whole thing that, whatever. And this is an example of being weird, but not going outside of the Bible, if you will. Jerry asks if it's okay for him to leave, and Russell says that Larry is Jerry's owner. It is how it should be. Which is weird, but it's a thing that you just power through. Jerry says he'll come visit. He curls up and Russell rolls him off to Larry. Russell hopes it's not too often. Larry takes Jerry and they head to their new place. And Larry says that this place is a lot, ending this episode. And this episode is also a lot. Oh boy. I like the Blythe story a lot. It's a good story, and it is the beginning of the Biskit redemption arc. The hard beginning, I should say. It's very just fun and light, and that contrasts to Jerry. Now the Jerry story isn't a bad story. Might not have the best advice, but I mean, as long as people can recognize the problems and solutions to this, the whole Jerry and Russell story is interesting. And it's something worth watching, I would say. It's not bad. It's just it has some personal effects on me that it's not going to have on other people. It will on other people, maybe to a bigger extent than me. But Jerry is entertaining as a character. He's just not the best. And I guess that's just a thing that happens as you get older and lose touch with the culture around you, and what is okay and what isn't okay, and figuring all of that out. And for some people, that what is and isn't okay is easier to grab than others. Overall, I'd say this is an enjoyable episode if it just has a lot of baggage. There's so much baggage that Russell has to carry it all. That's a joke. All right. So I think that is it for this episode of the Littlest PetCast. Please leave your comments and reviews on Shout Engine, on Apple Podcasts, on the Google Play Store, and wherever else RSS feeds go, when they aren't allowed to have jeggings. And tune in next time for the episode Littlest Pet Shop of Horrors. I will see you then.